This video tutorial I will explain how to integrate Spring Boot with Amazon SQS and how to send and receive product objects. AWS SQS is a fully managed distributed messaging system provided by AWS. The SQS acts as a message broker, enabling one component or service to send messages to the queue, while other components or service can consume messages from that queue. This architecture allows for asynchronous communication, where messages are placed by the producers in the queue and processed by the consumer at their own pace, effectively decoupling the producer and the consumer. Spring Cloud AWS is the part of Spring ecosystem, and it is designed to simplify the integration of AWS services into Spring applications. Spring Cloud AWS provides set of tools and libraries that make it easier for developers to build cloud native applications on the AWS platform using the Spring framework. It has a SQS module which allows us to send messages to the SQS queues and receive messages from the SQS queues within your Spring application. Now we will see what are the prerequisites are needed. We must have an AWS account to utilize AWS services. If you do not have AWS account, you can sign up at aws.amazon.com/console. We need user with programmatic access in order to access the AWS services. How to create the user with programmatic access, I have explained in the separate video. You can get the video link in this video description. And we need a simple Spring Boot 3 application. To simplify dependency management, we will use Spring Cloud AWS Bill of Materials. Here you can see that. Here you can see SQS producer Maven Spring Boot project and its folder structure. Here you can see pom.xml file. Here you can see the dependency management, which we discussed already. Here I have included Spring Boot Starter Web dependency, Spring Cloud AWS Starter dependency, Spring Cloud AWS Starter SQS dependency, Spring Boot Starter Test dependency. Here you can see application.properties file. Server port I have specified as 8080. Here you can see the AWS access key. Here you can see AWS secret key. Here you can see AWS region. Here I have defined the class AWS SQS config. It is a configuration class. Here I have defined access key, secret key and region. These values will be initialized from the application.property values. And when server startup, SQS async client object will be created using the region, access key and secret key. Also, SQS template object will be created, and here we are passing SQS async client object. Here I have defined the class product. It has three attributes: ID, name and price. Here I have defined the class message sender, which is service class, and here I have auto-wired SQS template. Here I have defined the queue name as message queue, and it has send message method which accept product JSON. Using send method of SQS template object, I am sending product JSON to message queue. Then I am displaying the product JSON which was sent to message queue. Here I have defined the class Spring AWS SQS application, which is a Spring Boot application, which implements a command line runner interface and provide implementation of run method. Inside run method, I am creating a product object. Product ID is 1, name is iPhone Pro Max 16, price is 1,25,000. And this piece of code, what I am doing is, I am serializing a product object to JSON using object mapper. And here I got product JSON. Then I am calling send message method of message sender object. And this method send the product JSON details to message queue. Here you can see queues page of Amazon SQS, and currently there is no queue. Now I am going to run this Spring Boot application. Application has been started, and it sent one product JSON to message queue. Click on refresh. Here you can see message queue has been created. Type is standard, and number of message available are 1. Now we will see how to consume this message from message queue using Spring Boot consumer application. Here you can see SQS consumer Maven Spring Boot application, and here you can see the folder structure of this project. Here you can see the pom.xml file. The content of this pom.xml is same as SQS producer Spring Boot application. Here you can see application.properties file. Server port I have defined as 9090, and AWS access key here you can see, AWS secret key here you can see, and here you can see AWS region. Here I have defined the class AWS SQS config, which is configuration class. Here I have defined access key, secret key, and region. The values will be initialized from application.properties file. When server startup, SQS async client object will be created, and here we are passing the region, access key, and secret key. And also SQS message listener container factory object will be created, and here we are passing SQS async client object. Here I have defined the class ack result callback, which implements acknowledgement result callback interface and provide implementation of on success and on failure. If acknowledgement of message is success, then this method will be called. If acknowledgement of message is failed, then this method will be called. Now we will see message acknowledgements. Acknowledging the completion of message processing is important so that message can be removed from the queue. There are 3 acknowledgement modes are there. We will see one by one. First one is on success, acknowledges a message after successful processing. Second one is always, acknowledges a message after processing, regardless of success or error. Third one is manual. The framework does not acknowledge messages automatically, and acknowledgement objects can be received in the listener method. In this mode, you must send acknowledgements manually. In this project, I am using acknowledgement mode as manual. Manual acknowledgement. To handle message acknowledgements manually, we can use SQS message listener container factory bean and set the default mode to manual. To perform manual acknowledgement, we can use the static method acknowledgement.acknowledge. And if required, we can also attach a callback to our acknowledgement with acknowledgement result callback. This helps in making sure that acknowledgements have been received by AWS properly. Here I have defined the product class. It has three attributes: ID, name, and price. Here I have defined the class message receiver, which is a service class. Here I have defined the queue name as message queue. And here I have defined a listen method, which accept message. And in this method, I have annotated with SQS listener, and the queue name is message queue. So whenever the message queue has any messages, this method will be called by the container. And from the message, I'm getting the payload. And here I got product JSON. Then this piece of code, I am serializing product JSON to product object. Then I'm displaying the product name and displaying the message payload. And here I am doing the manual acknowledgement. Here I have defined the class Spring AWS SQS application, which is a Spring Boot application. Now I am going to run this Spring Boot application. The consumer application has been started, and from the message queue, we got this product detail. Here you can see the product name. Click on refresh, and here you can see the number of messages are 0 in message queue. Stop the consumer. Now I will change acknowledgement mode to always. Save the changes. And here I will comment the manual acknowledgement. Save the changes. Now what I will do is I will send message using producer, and after the message is successfully received by this listen method, the message is successfully deleted from the message queue or not, we will check. Run the producer application. The product details are successfully sent to message queue. Now one message is there. I will run the consumer application. And here we got the product. Click on refresh. And here you can see it is 0 now. So the message got successfully deleted from message queue. We have just seen how automatic acknowledgement was working. When using the SQS listener annotation, message acknowledgement is automatically handled by the framework once the annotated method successfully processes the message. This simplifies the message processing flow, guarantees that messages are not processed multiple times, thereby reducing the risk of message loss in the application. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please click on like button and please subscribe to my channel. You can get Java source code and PowerPoint presentation for each and every video. That you can see it in the description section of the video. Click on show more, and here you can see the description, and here you can see the links to download source code and PowerPoint presentation.